But then I'll have a test question for Bob.
You know we're on the air right now.
Hello, everyone. Why don't you people tell me I am on the air?
We're on.
I'm Greg Gutfeld, along with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Bob Beckel, Eric Bowling, and she stores a Glock in her Easy Bake Oven. It's Dana Perino. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and I'm a jerk. They have to tell you when the show starts. I could have been doing something horrible. I usually am. All right. So even President Obama's favorite poet hates gun-free zones. Maya Angelou tells Time magazine why she has guns in her house.
If somebody's going to come into my house and I have not put out the welcome mat, I want to stop them.
When asked if she ever fired a gun, she said, of course, and she tells the story of this intruder entering her North Carolina home.
I heard the rhythm of someone walking on the leaves, and they came to my door, and somebody actually turned the knob. So I said, stand back, stand 4 feet back, because I'm going to shoot now. Boom! Boom!
Oh, I love her. The police arrived and informed Miss Angelou that the shots came from inside the house. They were right. The shots came from inside the house, the White House. For Angelou isn't just a star, she's President Obama's bestie, which once again shows that there are different rules for the cool club than for you and me. Last week, we saw Jim Carrey cruelly mock Americans and the late Chuck Heston for their views on guns, but then calmly defend his own right to have armed security. Sorry, Jim. Chuck was fighting for Maya's rights to protect herself, because unlike you, she has no bodyguard. And that's where guns really matter, protecting those who need protection. Children, women, minorities in rough parts of town, old folks living in places where cops aren't nearby. Guns are true empowerment for the powerless. Which raises a final question. Why do left-wing tools like Robert Redford never mind illegal weapons in the hands of domestic terrorists like the Weather Underground, but condemn law-abiding gun owners like yourself? I guess you're just not cool enough for a movie. I say take a tip from Maya Angelou. She knows why the caged bird shoots, because sometimes she has to. Shouldn't you be able to do the same thing, even if you aren't the president's favorite poet? So, Bob, I have a quiz for you, a test question that I wrote.
Yes, please.
If your mom was living in a house in the woods, what sticker would you rather have on her doorway? One that says gun-free zone or one that says I don't fire warning shots?
I would say I would add to the I don't fire warning shots, and I have a tank inside my living room. You know, I don't look this issue about gun control, taking guns. It's over. It's not an issue anymore. The question is, what is it within this legislation that can be preserved? And I think the background checks are still a viable possibility and should be. And I think there's an outside shot that you could get the number of bullets and clips limited. But outside of that, I don't think anybody believes that this thing is going anywhere. So nobody has to worry.
I don't. I see you're about to say something, Dana.
Yes, on background checks. I was thinking about this today. Okay, so you might find enough people to agree on some sort of language for background checks, but the whole purpose of this legislative push was about Newtown, Connecticut.
Right.
The background checks issue would not have prevented what happened in Newtown. I think that's one of the reasons that public opinion has continued to move away from the president, because you start teasing it out and you think, well, you're not actually solving the problem that you set out to solve.
Symbolic action.
We have background checks.
Yeah.
Why are we even discussing? There are background checks. There are background checks at most gun shows. I mean, literally, if you're getting down to, I want a background check for my 14-year-old son if I want to give him my shotgun, you're out of your mind.
Well, that's
out of your mind. That's going nowhere.
No, that's not going to go anywhere. But the guy at Virginia Tech, for example, when he bought that gun, had they done a background check on him, they would have found out that he had under psychiatric care, and he probably wouldn't have gotten the gun.
But you can always find an exception for that.
Still get guns, even if they've gotten background checks.
That was the left's point in Fast and Furious. For why that it didn't, Fast and Furious didn't matter because criminals could get guns if they wanted them.
But I will say this: I'm open for that discussion that Bob is talking about. I think that it's worth having that discussion. The problem is they went for symbolic actions first. A rifle that looks like an assault rifle was more important than seeking out the crazies and sentencing laws. I want to
They're
ask.
blaming it on the guns, and they're missing the point.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, why should you then deprive people of their constitutional Second Amendment right to bear arms, to have weapons, to protect themselves in their home, just like Ms. Angelou was saying? Why do you want to say, put the criminals at an advantage? They will find a way to get the weapon. Why can't I have one in my house to protect my family?
It's the ultimate feminist weapon. Talk about restoration hardware. This
Yeah.
restores a
You know,
woman.
you know who wish they had the gun that Ms. Angelou had? The two prosecutors in Texas. Had they had that, there's a good chance we'd still have two prosecutors alive in Texas.
Just to correct this one thing, it's not about the background checks are not about the guns. They're about the people who buy the guns,
Right.
and that's the difference. And I think there are a number of situations where people got guns if they had been subject to background checks, and there are not background checks in a lot of places. Then maybe we could have stopped one or two of these.
But look at the mass murders. Look at Aurora, Colorado. Look at Newtown. Look at all the other. Do you think they wouldn't have occurred if we had extensive background checks as part of a law? Are you saying that once we get background checks, there won't be any more mass murders?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
So what's the
Or
point?
once you ban all
there
guns
was a
from
background
country.
check.
Some of them will be deterred, and if that saves one
No, I'm a
child's
bad
life,
guy. I
it's
want
worth
to
it.
kill people. It doesn't matter if I pass or fail a background check. I'll get my hands on a gun.
But Eric,
Take the weapon from
there
your
was a
mom's
background
house
check.
that has it legally.
The background check was the Aurora killer checking the theaters if they were gun-free. That was the only background check. Hey, I want to move on quickly. There was a lead sponsor in the House on gun legislation. Her name is Diane DeGette. I think that's it. She's been in the forefront of gun control for a while here, but she doesn't seem to know how guns work. This is a clip when she's asked how a ban on magazines holding more than 15 rounds would be effective in reducing gun violence.
These are ammunition. They're bullets. So the people who have those now, they're going to shoot them. And so if you ban them in the future, the number of these high-capacity magazines is going to decrease dramatically over time because the bullets will have been shot and there won't be any more available.
See, this is the real problem with the gun control debate, is that a lot of people doing the debating have no clue because they don't know
Ignorance.
anybody with guns.
Can I point something out? Diane DeGette obviously doesn't get it
She doesn't get
because
it.
she has, for her to have an opinion and push legislation forward about high-capacity magazines and not realizing that once you shoot those bullets out of that magazine, you can reload them, and they will not go away going forward, Ms. DeGette. They will still be there, and you could still reload them. This is scary. That's the expert on the left.
Okay, can we assume then that your position is the NRA position? Just don't do anything.
No, it's not the NRA position
No, they say
whatsoever.
they put
In fact,
armed
my
people in
position, the
schools, I
very
understand.
day after Newtown, Connecticut, it was a very solemn day here, and so Bowling, what do you want to do? And I said, I think we should arm our schools. We should have someone in every school
I
that
agree.
is trained and able to handle a handgun,
Can
a gun.
I want to bring Dana into this. DeGette also was at this forum. A guy was asking about if you outlaw these large capacity magazines and leave him at a disadvantage. If he faced a well-armed intruder, this is what she said.
Representative yet. What about me?
Good news for you, you live in Denver, the DPD would be there within minutes.
I think that.
You'd probably be dead anyway.
So we'll do here in the.
So the bottom, they don't take, this is the problem. It's like when you argue gun control, they don't take you seriously, do you?
No, and what does it matter? Because your life's not really that important.
Imagine if you said that to her.
Congresswoman DeGette, I can imagine, I can see where she is coming from. She has to do these forums, and she thinks that she's going to be able to achieve something because Congress is so reactionary. It's the do something way of legislating. I would fully admit, I don't know the difference between all the different types of guns and the magazines and the clips, and I've learned a lot in the past 6 weeks, but I'm also not the sponsor of major legislation that is about to, that would change significant laws. She should have done a lot more homework.
Yeah, I mean, she's the leading, 4% on this, of these draconian laws, yet she's completely ignorant on the subject matter. She doesn't know what she's talking about, which is, she's dangerous. Putting out misinformation there, trying to push stuff forward. She loses all credibility. I think this is a major setback for the gun control lobby and for the Democratic Party.
There are some of us who believe kind of strongly in gun control, and this is the most gun-intensive country in the world. It has more guns than it has citizens. Now, the fact is that it is true.
No, I have a document.
No, it's actually not.
Sure it is.
Close.
All right, it's close. Let's do this
270.
one-on-one.
Yeah, it's almost.
1-to-1. I mean, that includes every child and everything else. I mean, I just, we're not going to win this debate. I recognize that. You're going to win it, and this bill's going to be defeated, except maybe background checks. And it's too bad, but that's where we.
But why not spend
Wait, can I
any
just-
time and energy on things like what Campbell Brown wrote about in the Wall Street Journal today, like on video games? You would think that, and whether or not it has an impact, they give Hollywood a complete pass while hurting rural America.
I think they should do things on video games.
But I also, I got to point out, one of the many things I respect about Bob is that he does not hide. You don't hide your beliefs about guns. You believe that there should be a complete ban on guns, and you say it.
No.
Handguns.
Handguns. And there's a lot of people who agree with you. President Obama says he's not taking guns away. He doesn't want to take guns away, and he says we're ginning up that fear. However, he does act like he doesn't like gun owners, right?
Can I point something out about your number? Your 270 million guns in America, 308 million Americans. Also of the lowest murder rate by gun in the world also. So more guns equals lower murder rate by gun.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah.
The lowest murder rate?
There's 4 per 100,000 in America. The number is multiples in some other countries around the world.
Most of them in Latin America.
Well, that doesn't
South
surprise me.
America.
How about in England or in?
England's weird, though, because England doesn't have as many metropolitan centers, so there's not gang crime that they see that we have.
But still,
here.
none of what we're talking about would have addressed the problem of a mentally ill teenager
Right.
in a home with
That's
a lot of guns, playing video games all day, with a mental health problem, and a mother not knowing what to do about it, and then 20 children losing.
The solution.
I contend that it would have mattered in Virginia Tech. I think if this guy hadn't gone to that gun store and there had been a background check, that he would not have been able to get the gun. Now, maybe he would have gotten the gun another way. I don't know. But at least the possibility exists that he wouldn't have gotten the gun, and maybe those people wouldn't have been shot.
I think the solution is you focus on the mentally ill. You got to keep guns away from them, and the media has to stop talking about it.
You have to be
because the more you talk
vigilant.
about it, the more you make immortality possible for these losers.
And
All
if
right,
you think someone has a mental problem that is a danger to others, report it. Don't sit back and do nothing and feel bad about it later.
are you saying you're going to report me?
Well, I've done it. They haven't come to get you yet. I expect shortly they will.
All right.